Hi, my name is Chris McAllister. Welcome to the SightShift podcast. If you've ever found yourself in that tense place of leadership where big goals collide with deep conviction, there's an old word for that. It's called wilderness. And when you're in the wilderness, in the uncertainty, you're in a beautiful place because that's where you can find ancient wisdom. For ambitious, faith-driven leaders, I want you to know there's a way forward and you're not a bad leader to be where you are. We're going to help you in this podcast take all of those moments and use them to make culture your edge in your team, in your organization, in your family.
Well, welcome back to the SightShift podcast. As always, good to have you along with us for another episode. He's Chris. I'm Mark. We're in the midst of the series down the home stretch around the book, Make Culture Your Edge. If you don't have a copy by now, what are you waiting for? Get your copy at makecultureyouredge.com at Amazon. And today we're going to double click into the second pillar of our culture model. 2 episodes ago, we talked about the overall culture model as like a formula. Last time we camped out in the first pillar talking about right communication, and I know you and I have talked about this. The listeners wouldn't know this. We had a lot of fun with that last episode.
So much fun.
You want to do it again?
Yeah. I'm like, I have a very high expectation for whatever's going to happen next.
So we can nerd out without purpose, without strategic purpose on The Lord of the Rings.
I.e. Mark's Monday mornings outside of this recording when he's just listening to me gab it up.
Yeah, it's fun. It's really fun. I'm always learning something, and the content, Lord of the Rings in particular, keeps giving to me these days in a new way. We had a lot of fun with that last episode.
You're going to love something coming in the next 15 series on this.
Okay,
I'm going to
super.
surprise you.
Okay.
Because that's where I prepare. He prepares here.
Yeah. Super. Let's have some more fun with Lord of the Rings.
Cool.
So last time we were talking about communication and the Council of Elrond and how the team had to really struggle through, even though Elrond and Gandalf knew the answer. Like, we got to go do this. This is the mission. This is the vision. Destroy the ring, defeat Sauron. That was the thing. But the team had to kind of wrestle through. Today we're talking about change. Dude. Blowing my mind thinking about that epic and great story in the application of change.
Okay.
Picture the movie scene, because you're probably more familiar with the movie scene than the book scene. They've been in boats down the river.
Yep.
They pull off their boats.
Okay.
And Frodo kind of wanders off. Boromir makes an attempt to like change Frodo's mind and go after the ring.
He fails his wilderness temptation.
Yeah. And also, to set the scene, their leader, Gandalf, is gone. Mm-hmm. He's at least as far as they know, spoiler alert, he's gone. So they're, in effect, they've had a leadership change.
Ooh.
They're struggling with what the expression, the how of accomplishing the vision and the mission looks like. And this is the point where the fellowship fractures. Mm-hmm. They go through change. Mm-hmm. The mission doesn't change. The vision to destroy the ring, defeat Sauron doesn't change, but they go through a change. Frodo and Sam peel off.
Yeah. Resistance fractures the team.
Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas peel off. And then, of course, Boromir is killed, and Merry and Pippin are taken. So now you have this fracturing of the original fellowship, which was a vehicle that carried them up to this point, a system and a structure. You can see where all this is going, right? And now, in effect, you have 3 different groups that are asked, compelled to deal with change in their own way. And cool part, they're all carrying their own portion of the ring.
Yeah.
In order to complete the overall mission. The vision hasn't changed. But in this moment, in part because of Frodo, I can keep going if you want me to tease this out.
My
I'm
mind
stealing
is
all your thunder.
running at 100 into all the direct different applications, and of course the biggest application. But no, keep rolling.
So let me set you
yeah.
up, and then I'll let you go because it's fun to let you go. Frodo and Sam address the festering problem. Boromir and others are eventually going to be taken by this ring, and we have to separate ourselves. Sam is like, you're not going alone. Frodo's the one that makes the decision.
Yeah.
We cannot let this problem fester anymore. Aragorn and Gimli and
Legolas.
They realize that their role in this has changed. They've got to go after. Just checking my notes here to make sure I get this right. Oh yeah, so they've got to let go of the plan.
Yep.
The plan wasn't the fellowship.
Yeah.
They've got to be able to let go of that plan in order to continue on and carry their burden of the vision, their ring, so to speak. And then, of course, you've got the goof-off hobbits, Merry and Pippin, who undergo their own version of stress.
Yeah.
And they've got to grow up under that.
Yeah.
And make some mistakes along the way. And by the time the story's over, like, they may still be 4 feet tall, but they're giants.
Yeah.
In what they've been able to do and accomplish through the difficulty.
Yeah.
So that's a long setup, more than Mark usually talks, but like, hopefully your mind is firing at this point.
Too much. I'm trying to remember it all. Remember what you're saying. Remember all the implications.
Yeah. So let's have some fun, right? With the application in the context of this, the application of this story in the context of we're talking to leaders who are facing change on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And when you can do it right, it's the second of 3 elements of our impact culture. So, right change.
Right on. Dude, you did it again. Like, I'm like, oh, how have I not, like, and now it's all the implications. I mean, so every CEO or team leader listening to this, they're bent towards a direction. They're bent more towards the doing of the mission or the community. So we talk about in terms of mission and community in the IFQ, because we can see that. And a lot of leaders are fairly split. I mean, I think if you looked at a larger general pop database, you're going to see a wider variance. We're measuring leaders. I mean, that's most of our data set. So it wouldn't be considered general pop. So they're learning how to live in the tension of what needs to get done and deepening, preserving relationships. But this scene exposes something really powerful, and that is this. The point is of all of this, which is where we're going to get next time, is deepening community. The whole point of everything is relationship. But yet, you can't engage leadership as relationship above all costs has to be preserved because everyone's making their individual choice. So I even think about how Galadriel, I'm probably saying her name wrong, the elf queen, she passes the temptation.
She does.
So we're all, but it's not her mission, right? Where the mission bumped up against her, she passes the test, but it's not her mission. And we're all, in a given day, bouncing around lots of people's missions in our team, missions that aren't even related to us, people that want something from us. We're constantly having to pass character tests. Do we resent them? Are we irritated they bothered us? Are we jealous? Are we envious? Is there greed in our hearts towards their mission? Can we be supportive? Can we do the things that we're supposed to do to support it, but not over support it or under support it? So we're all kind of facing our own little tests with this. She passes. Boromir, who's all wrapped up in it, of course, fails it. Fails it in the moment, but I love the way that the story isn't over for him because he gets one more chance, right?
Yeah.
Like Samson, he's got one more chance and he gets to pull the...
I love that scene.
Yeah, me too,
In the
man.
movie anyway. It gives me chills every time.
Because it is like, I fail tests. I lead for my own validation. I miss moments and my character's deformed, but the story isn't over and I have another chance. And so that's in my mind. What's also in my mind, though, is... if you let the people who are relationally wired make all the decisions, they're going to decide to preserve over everything else. And the danger in that is this: a real mission produces change in structure and systems. There's no real mission happening, a real vision. A real vision necessitates change. And so the change that's required is the structure of this fellowship. Now they have to run submissions. And so, like, I remember when I formed the company behind SightShift in 2012, and I'll never forget the attorney setting it up said something offhanded, and it's just stayed with me in a big way because, I want to build something that's forever. We're going to march forever together. And he was like, yeah, but no business relationships stay the same. They all go through flux. And I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, that makes complete sense. And really helped me even early on to go, there are people who will run with us for a season. There will people who will run with us for a long term. And you don't know who those people are because their own purpose and mission is working out in their lives. Or at some point they may fail a test in response to this vision and become resistant to change. Ultimately, what people are resisting growing through, which is the end part of the change piece in this model for us, is where they're sacrificing their insecurities to become more. But the starting point of that is in this place of really being square-eyed with what is the problem this vision is addressing. So for Boromir, when he fails the temptation, the problem that the vision is addressing is how to keep the stewards of Gondor in power. And he's not even necessarily doing it from a strictly insecure standpoint. The only vision he has is, how do we keep evil at bay? We have to stay the stewards of Gondor. That's his vision that he's operating from. He can't upgrade the vision, so he can't face the real problem, which is the ring has to be destroyed. And so when he shifts into that reality, then he gets to end his story with grace, and it's powerful. However, Aragorn is a contradiction to that because real quickly he doesn't want that. He doesn't want this fracturing, but he knows it's what's best.
He lets Frodo go.
Exactly. We're still preserved in unity.
Yeah.
We're still preserved together, but we've got to go run this separate submission to support this bigger mission. Do you know how much, this isn't just a movie. This is every team meeting that you're going to go through. This week, can people support the overall mission? How it transforms them? What they're asking to, what it's asking of them to become? Do they need to self-select out and run a separate submission for a while? I mean, the best people on a board or on a leadership team are the people that say, I'm here until you tell me I shouldn't be here anymore. If I'm getting in the way, I'll step away. That humility, whereas it's the people that are like, I'm clawed in, I'm here for life, no matter what you say, tends to be they're resistant to change. And that is the way that you can understand this. They are resisting what the vision is asking of them to transform into. And then Frodo and Sam have their own pieces in this, which I can hit, but I'll pause.
Yeah, no, keep going.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Frodo, falsely, in an insecure way, knows the cost and can't ask anyone else to pay that price for him.
I have to do it alone.
I have to do it alone, the lone wolf
yeah.
thing. And so he lacks that ability to let someone die in pursuit of the mission. And this isn't a utilitarian place that we want to flip to, that like we just throw bodies at problems and who cares. That's an evil place to be in. But it is equally dysfunctional on the other extreme, right? So that we could call that proving. On the other extreme, to hide from sometimes the cost that has to be borne by others. Mm-hmm. And of course, he relents to that through Sam drowning, basically, and he has to, pull him out of the water, and then they're going together. And Sam's own insecurity in this, which still works out for good in the story, which is, you can't do it without me. And of course, we're glad he does have that kind of relational loyalty to Frodo in this journey. So, yeah, I'm seeing it at like so many different layers. But the big takeaway point is, you can tell where people are at in relationship to what the vision is asking of them in how they respond to change. And if they have to stay committed to how they saw the world, like Boromir 5 minutes ago, they are failing to miss what the vision is capturing in their imagination to grow into. And that's the thing. I mean, we need leaders of conviction who know when to be stubborn and know when to change their mind. And if you don't have that distinction in your mind, and if it's coming out of insecurity, you'll change your mind too fast, too easy, and not have a solid core, or you'll be too stubborn. And there are things that I need to hold. There are things that the team needs to hold. And there are things that we need to go, we were wrong. Let's update our view of reality, and let's shift right now, because this new change is emerging, and all that's being played out. That's why the story is so powerful. It's true. It's true. Well, we say this all the time. Don't judge us by us. Judge us by what works, by the results that we see with teams and individuals and companies, because this is ancient wisdom. And Tolkien put a beautiful story to it.
Yeah, it's so cool. I want to just pause on something that there's so many things that we could keep going on, but the example that you just gave about we did something wrong, it's time to it could be that just circumstances changed.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of an obvious thing, but I do think it's worth calling out.
Yeah.
Back to the whole model of change: aware, lean in, flip, flow. That's a freebie. The stuck book. Go figure that, or go look for that. It's becoming aware that something has changed. And in the story, Frodo initiated the change because he saw the problem coming. Yeah. He got a little warning from Galadriel earlier, right? That's super cool. But the circumstances prompted the change. The fellowship worked. Yeah. To get him to that point. Yeah. But it was never about the fellowship.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen teams and companies totally hit the skids because they couldn't do what Frodo did, which is accept the reality that we're going to have to go off on our own little side quest here, because this price is too big to pay by everyone. Of course, he didn't have full, omniscient view of the whole thing. So all these little submissions that Aragorn needs to run, and it's all part of the story. But yeah, there are people, too many leaders who are hiding, keeping their head in the sand from what is staring them in the face. And I think that's even more true today. I mean, I think however a company thought about their strategy or their planning, even 9 months ago, 6 months ago, in our current environment now has to be updated. Just like when the pandemic hit, regardless of where you land on all that stuff, you had to update your view of reality. And you have to update your view of reality again. Mm-hmm. The world's changing fast, and there's a lot of change coming, and you're going to cooperate with it or resist it.
I don't think we're communicating this, but in the process of just kind of prepping and thinking, one of the things that could be taken from this, and I think maybe inappropriately, is when there's a leadership change, everything must fracture and kind of break apart, and people go off on their own thing.
I'm glad you're emphasizing that.
Yeah, just comment on on that,
Yeah.
because it may be that that's required, but but that's not what we're communicating, that it's necessary.
Yes. All that's necessary, and we'll walk through each of these three elements, I'm sure. Square up with the problem. It's going to require innovative thinking. Thinking that got you here doesn't get you there. You're going to have to see this problem differently, and executing that innovative, creative thinking is going to require you to become something you're not. That we can say for certain. What happens in how the systems and structure change, because they will, is going to be unique to each domain. And this is the difference between, the map isn't the territory. You're going to be in your own territory on this, and you're going to have to wrestle it down and apply it with specificity. But what we can tell you over and over and over again, check it, go look at this for yourself. These three pieces are what support right change. We got to square up with the problem. It's going to require creative thinking, and then we're going to have to become something different to execute that creative thinking.
Yep. Let's double click into each of those, because obviously we've been pointing it out in the form of Frodo and Sam, Aragorn as he leads his trio, and then what happens with Merry and Pippin. But the first step really in this changing process is, as you said, square up with a problem, face the reality, and not just the symptom. Frodo was kind of feeling the symptoms.
Yeah.
Galadriel helped him to anticipate.
Yeah.
He got a little bit of early warning. There was a signal in the data that he was receiving, but ultimately he had to rightly conclude that the problem was the ring itself was corrupting the people around him. But he had faced the problem, and then it required action on his part.
Yes. Yeah. Well, vision answers the pain, which is right communication. Then Frodo was early to the change process because he faced the problem. Not everybody can carry this with me. And so that's where you see effective change. Vision answers the pain, change answers the problem. So what should happen to someone if they're intelligent on this, or aware, and not even mental intelligence, street level intelligence, we know the pain that the vision answers. Now we have to define with as much specificity what is the real problem, not the symptoms, but the core key problem to focus on.
Yeah.
Because you only have, you could creatively solve 57 things today. What's the most important thing that's going to get your best creative abilities and mental horsepower? And there are people that would hear this and go, well, I'm not really creative. And we do this all the time. I mean, this happened. This kind of thing happens. This happened last week with a team. And it's oftentimes finance or engineer people, I'm not that creative. And I'm like, no, you are.
I resemble that remark.
Yeah. Look at how you, and I actually asked this guy in a team setting, tell me about your process when you kind of are working through something. And he talked about his process, and I don't want to say too much just to protect the sanctity of that team environment, but he talked about his process, and there was a clear moment where the creative breakthrough happens for him. He would have just never thought about it that way or worded it that way, but that's exactly what's happening. And so you have to figure out, and I'm thinking of Elon Musk's first principles here, different ways we talk about this today, but that you're really trying to peel something back to get to, what is the greatest obstacle? What is the greatest upstream thing that will yield the most transformation and impact? We can solve so many things, but let's solve this thing. That's the problem.
Yeah. Okay. So now the problem's been identified. You've squared up with the problem. You know what it is. Then there's the movement into, okay, how do we address it?
Yeah. What's interesting here, though, and I'll just back up real quick, is oftentimes the people that are very relationally inclined to keep the peace, they're a great signal and tell for what the main problem is. If they can get secure in their mindset, because you can ask them, what's the thing you're worried that's going to wreck us the most? So in our language, it's an identity fear of belonging. Weirdly, their superpower can be their weakness. Their superpower can be what's the thing you think fractures us the most, right? And so you're drawing out their ability to be the Frodo, if you will, to isolate out, well, this is going to hurt us.
Yeah.
And that's what Frodo did. So the second piece, after you really square up with the problem, now you're getting into where you need the creative thinking. And it's the creative thinking that is going to get you to that, not the either or, but the both and third solution. And the best, the best principle here is things that require creative thinking are oftentimes a situation that have truth on both sides. Wisdom isn't needed in a situation that's an easy, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to do this. Most of life isn't choosing between bad and good. I love using this illustration, but I did stop and buy a energy drink at the gas station this morning. Hours ago, this is just normal Chris brain right now, but it wasn't a dilemma for me. Like, should I steal the money in the cash register or just get this drink? So there wasn't a choice between bad and good. The choice that we're so often sidelined by is this choice between good and great. That's what's happening in this move. And here's what's really cool. If you can get the people who have this wiring towards ordering chaos, towards having a strong moral point of view past their insecurity. And the way that they're not past their insecurity is when they're policing, when they're the high horse critic. When they've shifted, they can be an incredible source of creative solutioning because they feel so deeply the tear between the right and wrong. And they're going to oftentimes, and it can come from everybody, but they're going to oftentimes be a place that learns to get to a third solution because their effort or their transformation is so powerful in this frame. I mean, this is not that our key fears can't shift a little bit, but this is key for you. We were headed out to an event last week, and I was stuck between an either or. And Mark's just like, well, what about this? Third solution, boom, we're right there. Or whatever, something I thought of, but you called it out. And so we're looking for people that are learning to cultivate being a wise guide because they help you come to these creative solutions. And you don't always know you're doing it. It's just real time in the moment. And that's where we start seeing effective change begin with squaring up with the problem and then continue with the creative solution. Sadly, that's where people think it's finished. But there's one more piece still.
Keep going.
To change. So sadly, a lot of people think, well, once we've got the innovation or the creative solution, we're done. And this is what we got to get this change out to the team. We got to get this change out to the organization. And the way that you've missed this moment is if somebody's relying on brute force to get people to change. Because when you can't innovate, you will resort to manipulate. But you've done this work, you got a creative solution. Now here's what you got to do for this third piece in the change. You have to give it a frame that says, who do we become as a result of this? That's the nature of the right communication is a new identity we're stepping into as a team, individuals, and organization. Right change is, how does that get bolted down that new identity becomes reality? And so there are people on the team who will oftentimes have a fear of jumping into change because they're worried about how it can go wrong. And these people are a gift. I want those people in the room. Help me see the trouble that's coming around the corner that I haven't yet imagined.
Pause there for a second.
Yeah. Go for it.
Let me just reemphasize what you said.
Okay.
For the secure leader who is paying attention.
Yes.
Recognizing the gift of diversity.
Yes.
These folks that could be perceived as resistors are a gift.
Bingo. At every level in the change process, when they're resisting from acknowledging the problem, when they're resisting the creative thinking, and when they're resisting because of what it can go wrong, you don't get threatened by that. You go, oh, this is a powerful clue and signal to me of something we need to take in. Even if that individual doesn't recognize it. Now we're going to help communicate in such a way to you, paint out to you in such a way that you can make sense of what's happening for that individual, or they can. But it's your job as a secure leader to do that. You have to do it. If you don't, no one else will. And I'm glad you paused it and double-clicked it there because we shouldn't take that for granted. I mean, come on, 2 white bald dudes telling you everybody thinks about diversity on a team completely backward.
And it's a callback. We've talked about this
Yeah.
in previous episodes in our recording process. This has been a multi-month series in recording, so it's not as fresh in our minds. But in the series, it's only a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
So just calling back to that the secure leader doesn't have to take these, but what about this? This might go wrong as a threat. It's a gift, right? Because
It's the best.
yeah. So keep going.
It's the best. I mean, and if you take it as a threat, what you're doing in your mind is you start intellectually fortifying your position, and you miss the insight the person who is resistant to change because of relationships or because of creative thinking or because of what could go wrong would give to you. Now, if someone is in your team in this regard, they would be the chicken little. Wow, I forget how we called the validation identity for this one right now, but
Yeah, control freak.
control freak. Yeah, they're being a control freak at their absolute worst, but the early signs of it show up as chicken little. They have to go through their own transformation to be able to state what can go wrong in a way that doesn't transfer anxiety to the team. You have to, as the team leader, if that does occur, let that concern be drawn out and be an emotional containment for that anxiety so it can get diffused and not stuck up in everybody's nervous system. Ideally, those people become their own secure leaders, and they're transferring that danger awareness to the team in a way that isn't heightening anxiety. So they would say, like, hey, I know what we got. I know we've got what it takes, but this is what could go wrong. Now, how do you know that you have what it takes? Well, that's this idea of this solution is going to require us to become something we haven't been. And it could be small. I mean, I'm thinking of back in our quarterly team meeting, last quarter's quarterly team meeting. And props to you, vocalized an insight, something that I was feeling. You vocalized it. I went in on that moment with you. And now we're doing it. We're executing on being something we weren't 6 months ago.
Yep.
Right? And that's the idea here, because if you want to put it in a really cool way of thinking about it, it's not just that you're coming up with a creative solution. That is great. You're transforming into something. That's the gift here. That's how work can change your whole life. That's how pursuing a mission together with people that are learning to have a secure identity, all the time you spend at work with them can make you a better husband, wife, whatever at home.
Yeah, I like that. We've been in, you more than me, but we collectively have been immersed in this content, these topics, these ideas for a long time. It's getting expressed in a podcast form, but it's not new. Obviously, it's in a book form. But just hearing you say that again about becoming together, the vision matters, who we're becoming in accomplishing that matters, and all of this, spoiler alert, is a setup for the next episode where we get deeper into right connection. But I love how you put it, like, it's not just about making the change. It's not just about the creative solution. It's about the opportunity to become something more, something bigger, something different. Aragorn to become the king that was in his lineage. Merry and Pippin to become more aware of the stakes and what really matters. Frodo to become the hero character about which stories are written and told in Middle Earth for years to come.
Yes.
There's a becoming.
There's a becoming. And if you want to think about it this way, the 3 identity fears associated with right communication, they're all focused on maximizing good. The 3 identity fears associated with change are all in minimizing bad. So you need the electricity that both of those bring together, because the maximizing good will turn a blind eye, right? And we need both. It's not one side or the other. We are wired up in such a way as humans to over-index on whatever is something that is in our wiring where we're more insecure, and we need this diversity that creates this dynamic tension so that we can maximize the good and minimize the bad. That's for a marriage, that's for family, that's for parenting, it's all of that. And I think that's what's so cool to me about seeing all the unique ways we all think differently as leaders in our own ways, that this model can help draw out so that you get the full resources of what's around the table.
Yeah.
Or sadly for some, oh crap, I hired everybody just like me. I don't think we see that.
I don't think that was in the book. So that's it's a good call out.
Yeah, it may not be, dang it.
Additional value for these episodes in this conversation. I want to just connect one more dots, and then I'll give you a chance to either respond to that or add anything else as we land the plane on this episode. In previous episodes and as part of the model, we've talked about faith being a part of the communication side, hope being a part of the change side, and hope as in we'll find a way. We'll find a way. And we know the end of the Lord of the Rings story, but this portion of it was a pivotal portion of it as they were experiencing this resistance moment, and the structure changes because they said, we've got to find a way.
Got to find a way.
We've got to find a way.
We're not. I love how you said it. It stayed with me forever. We're not flipping a coin in to a wishing well, hoping this happens. It's the real word for what hope was meant from the Greek, which was elpis, because of what I'm convinced of that is currently not yet seen. I live and behave this way, which is why the change piece is all about behavior.
Yeah.
It's the behavior that's transformed.
Yep. Love it. Anything else that we need to hit before we...
Thank you for taking me on this ride.
Okay. Well, thank you for the opportunity to pull some more out of the Lord of the Rings. We may not be done. We'll see. We may not be done. I've got some thoughts on the last episode, but as a practical takeaway, I wonder if this might be helpful. As you are thinking about where you are in your situation, business situation, personal situation, family situation, are you sensing that there's a problem that's going to require some change? And the content in the book is pretty practical here. You can think about it as a structural change, or you can think about it as a system change, or maybe a blend and combination of both. But as you are processing what you're facing and where you might be facing some change, what structure needs to change, what system needs to change, given your current circumstances, to continue to support the vision and the becoming of yourself or others that are involved. There's a practical thing for you to reflect on and take away as we wrap this episode.
Because that's the only way to anchor behavior change and make sure of it is if there's system and structure change.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bingo.
Yep. Make it real. Okay. Make Culture Your Edge is the book. Again, he's Chris. I'm Mark. We're thankful that you are with us for another episode. If you want more, SightShift.com. That's SIGHT shift.com. You can always pick up more there. We'll be back again, double-clicking on Right Connection for one of our final episodes. Until then.
Thanks so much for being with us on the SightShift podcast. I hope in some way we've encouraged you to face, lean into, and become aware of the moments that represent so much transformation possibility. If you want more, you can always go to SightShift, SIGHT shift.com, and learn to make culture your edge.